Hi, this is Anton with a walkthrough of the Excel symbols and syntax that you'll see throughout throughout all of my examples. Some of them you might miss, but they're pretty much all in there. So the first one, and most common because it starts every function and formula, is the equal sign. Now, it's also used just a single equal sign for the comparison here. So you can, if I click here, you see that it's comparing whether or not these two are equal. Obviously that's not true, so it gives me a false response. So you can use that within if statements or other pieces, and then that can help with the logic of automating different pieces. Another one here is the exclamation mark, and this you'll see after sheet names. Now, or sheet external references essentially. You'll basically see it after external references is the best way to say it. And when it's just a standard sheet name like this and it's internally referencing, so it's referencing sheet 5 here, it's just the exclamation mark. When it's anything more, which you'll see down here, it will have the single quotations and then the exact cell that it's referencing. And then the hash symbol for essentially a hashtag for the errors. And then so that gives you some convenience functions so you can look and see the division steps. So obviously this one is dividing by 0. So you can see there that it's dividing by 0, which never works. And then here the $sign just locks the values, so you can see that if I copy across, it's actually referencing the next cell over every time that I copy it across. And then but if I copy it down, it still references the same one. So it locks in that value. So you can see that the row stays locked, but the column does not. And if I click on here, you can use F4 or you can manually type it in and it will cycle through the different options. So this is locking both. So copy this cell any direction, it will always reference A4. Copy this any direction, it will always reference row 4. Copy it any direction, will always reference column A. Next up, it's to the power of, which I just accidentally deleted, so say 2 to the power of 3. And then this one is essentially a join function, so anytime you use the ampersand, I believe it's called, it joins them. So in this one I'm joining these two, and you can see it's the reason Excel does this as far as the default alignment. It's the left alignments are all text and the right alignments are all numerical values. So this one you can see is giving text. It's assuming this is text now. And of course you can get the $sign in different number formatting within here as well. Rounded brackets, you can see they're generally used within the cells so that you know which pieces belong to the function, but you can also use it as far as order of operations as you see in regular math. Next up we have the square brackets, which you can't see right off the bat, but if you look down here, each piece after the first comma is an optional number reference. So for the sum function, really you generally and quite often will only select one set, and so you can see the full colon here. It gives you a full row or grid reference. Whoops, I always forget after you do it the first time, it doesn't automatically do that. So you have to make sure you select everything. So here you can see it will automatically update that different piece. So it does the top left and bottom right corner. So if you look at the names, you can figure out how big the grid is. Now, the reason it has these extra optional pieces is you don't always have a nice pretty grid that you want to select, so it allows you to select multiple grids, but you only strictly need the first one, so that's what the square brackets are for. You'll also see square brackets used once more once I get to the bottom here, but greater than or less than, so same as above. Again, useful in if logic and other things like that. Double quotes, so that is, in this one, I'll just get rid of this so you can see what oh yeah, it doesn't show that. One sec. This. is what I meant. So now double quotes is extremely useful for when you have certain text that you want to give as within a formula or different pieces, and then you can join it, as you see in this one where I've actually joined it to this value in between, so whatever that value is, it will automatically update. So if I just change it to 10, say I won't pay $10 for that, and so you could apply if statements or other different logic options to have an option where if it reaches a certain threshold, you'd say I will pay X number for that, and the logic will determine which sentence gets used. And yeah, so really this piece is with the joins and applying some of the logic and just using some functions to speed up or to simplify the process a little. You can have full reports that have custom paragraphs even that are based entirely on logic on the underlying values. And so you can have everything essentially preset and it just automatically fills based on the most recent data. So yeah, so that's a big piece there. And then last is the single quotes. So you often see that when referencing a cell that's not the standard sheet, whatever, so that puts in quotes, and especially for external references where it pulls the entire external sheet reference here, and then so this is that other piece of the squared brackets that I was mentioning where it will give the file path in that full piece, but because this one is within the same folder, it just gives the file name, and then you see the sheet name and others as normal, but this whole piece you see is within the single brackets. So those are kind of the basic pieces. There's a little more that I could show, but this will be enough for most of your needs.